In the crucible of the 18th century, history witnessed a gambit so audacious, it defied all reason. Against overwhelming odds, a lightning strike was unleashed, a masterpiece of maneuver warfare etched into legend, 22,000 against 41,000. A numerical disparity that should have sealed Prussia's fate. But Frederick the Great, facing annihilation, prepared to shatter every convention of his age. This is the story of Rossbach, a battlefield where the impossible unfolded, forever changing military history. Mid-18th century Europe, a powder keg of ambition and rivalry. Prussia stood precariously, surrounded. The 7 Years' War, a brutal global conflict, threatened to tear Frederick's kingdom apart. Prussia faced an existential threat, its very survival hanging by the thinnest of threads. But within this peril, Frederick forged an army, a machine honed for speed and precision, discipline, relentless training, and an unshakable belief in audacious tactics defined his forces. Frederick, the philosopher king, was also a military genius, gambling everything on his vision. Their adversaries, the French and imperial armies, were vast, confident, and overwhelmingly superior in numbers. The numbers were stark. 22,000 Prussians against a combined Allied force of 41,000. Conventional wisdom dictated an Allied victory. Their confidence was absolute, their triumph seemingly inevitable. Near Rossbach, in the autumn of 1757, two fates converged, ready for a decisive clash. But Frederick saw not merely numbers, but opportunities, weaknesses in the enemy's perceived strength. His audacious gambit began not with a charge, but with a cunning deception, a masterstroke. He would lure them, tempt their overconfidence, then strike with devastating, unexpected force. This was more than a battle. It was a desperate gamble for the very soul of Prussia. The stakes were monumental, threatening to erase Frederick's kingdom from the maps of Europe. We will uncover how an underdog shattered conventional warfare, echoing through Saxony and reshaping a continent. Join us as we deep dive into one of history's most audacious victories, the Battle of Rossbach, the mid-18th century. Europe, a continent on the cusp of unprecedented upheaval, teetered on a knife's edge. Beneath a veneer of diplomacy, an intricate web of rivalries and ambitions simmered, ready to ignite. This was an era of empires, where royal prerogatives and territorial greed dictated the fate of millions. The mighty Habsburg monarchy, though vast, felt its traditional dominance challenged by new forces. Across the Rhine, the Bourbons of France, a colossal power, sought to assert their influence across the continent, and across the Channel, Great Britain, a burgeoning maritime empire, vied for global supremacy and trade. Then there was Prussia, a rising military state, seemingly small yet strategically positioned and ambitious. Under Frederick the Great, Prussia defied expectations, forging an elite army and challenging the old order. Decades of localized conflicts had hardened these nations, preparing them for a larger, global confrontation. The traditional allegiances, forged over centuries, were now fracturing under the weight of new ambitions. A seismic shift, the diplomatic revolution, inverted alliances, plunging Europe into unprecedented uncertainty. Austria and France, ancient enemies, now found common cause against the rising threat of Prussian power. Russia, a vast and unpredictable Eastern power, soon joined this formidable anti-Prussian coalition. Prussia, a young kingdom, now faced a daunting alliance of Europe's most dominant military states. With the diplomatic landscape transformed, war became not just possible but inevitable for Prussia. This wasn't merely a European skirmish, it was the prelude to a global conflagration, the 7 Years' War. From the forests of North America to the plains of India, the war's tendrils stretched across continents. But at its heart lay Prussia, geographically vulnerable, surrounded by a ring of powerful, vengeful foes. Outnumbered and outmatched, Prussia's very existence hung by a thread, a fragile state against a tide. Every border bristled with enemy armies, poised to carve up Frederick's kingdom and extinguish its flame. The combined might of three great powers threatened to crush the nascent Prussian state in a brutal vice. Frederick, facing overwhelming odds, understood the monumental scale of the existential threat. This wasn't a war of conquest for Prussia, but a desperate, brutal fight for its very survival. His nation, a military powerhouse, now faced an ultimate test of its resolve and strategic genius. The fate of the Prussian people, their lands and future, rested squarely on Frederick's shoulders. He knew that failure meant the complete dismemberment of Prussia, erasing his life's work. Against a coalition bent on its destruction, Prussia's survival seemed an almost impossible dream. Yet, amidst the gathering storm, Frederick prepared to confront destiny with audacious military brilliance. His strategy, not to merely defend, but to strike decisively, to confound his vastly superior enemies. The stage was set, Europe was ablaze, and Frederick the Great prepared for his greatest struggle. In the heart of 18th century Europe, Frederick the Great forged a nation from an iron will and military genius. Prussia, a minor power, faced existential threats. Survival demanded a military unlike any other in Europe. Frederick's vision transformed a small kingdom into a formidable war machine, driven by relentless ambition. From the crucible of the Silesian Wars, Frederick learned brutal lessons about conventional warfare's limitations. His commitment was total. Frederick immersed himself in every aspect of military doctrine and strategy. The army was his obsession, the centerpiece of his reign, a finely tuned instrument of national power. He revolutionized the officer corps, promoting based on merit and loyalty, not just aristocratic birthright. The king himself was the ultimate drill sergeant, demanding absolute perfection from every Prussian soldier. Prussian discipline was legendary, forged through relentless, often brutal, training that broke weaker men. The infamous cane symbolized absolute authority. Punishment was swift, ensuring unwavering obedience and precision. Hours of repetitive drills transformed recruits into an automatic force, reacting instantly, without hesitation. The Prussian infantry became a well-oiled machine, delivering devastating musket fire with unmatched speed. Speed was paramount. Frederick trained his troops for rapid movement, outmaneuvering slower traditional armies. Frederick's signature oblique order tactic allowed him to concentrate overwhelming force on a single flank. Rapid maneuver was not just speed. It was the art of swiftly redeploying forces to exploit enemy weaknesses. Frederick understood cavalry's crucial role, not just for reconnaissance, but for decisive shock action. His cavalry reforms emphasized aggressive training, instilling an unmatched spirit of audacious attack. From light hussars to heavy dragoons, each cavalry unit had a specialized role, perfected through rigorous training. Frederick also revolutionized artillery, making it mobile, capable of concentrated and rapid bombardment. Standardized calibers and faster reloading mechanisms ensured his artillery could sustain devastating barrages. The Prussian army perfected combined arms warfare, where infantry, cavalry, and artillery worked in deadly concert. Behind the lines, an efficient logistical system ensured the army was always supplied, always ready. Prussia was a perpetual training ground, constantly refining tactics through endless maneuvers and war games. Frederick instilled unwavering confidence in his troops and a terrifying reputation for his formidable military. His strategic mind was like a grand chess master, always anticipating, always planning several moves ahead. Frederick foresaw the coming storm, meticulously preparing his nation for the inevitable, brutal struggle for survival. The military was more than just an army. It was the very identity of Prussia, a national obsession. Years of relentless training and singular vision culminated in an unbeatable force, ready to defy giants. The foundation was laid. Frederick's audacious strategies were now possible, ready to reshape European history. Frederick's iron will and military genius forged a legacy, forever changing the art of war and national survival. As autumn winds swept through Saxony, a colossal force gathered. The stage was set for an epic confrontation. From across the Rhine, France's formidable army, seasoned and numerous, swelled the ranks of the Allied coalition. Under the command of Prince Soubise, thousands of French soldiers marched with purpose, their numbers formidable. This was no mere skirmish force. It was a grand expedition, equipped for decisive victory. Joining them, the Reichsarmee, a composite force from the Holy Roman Empire's many states, pledged their loyalty. From princely states and imperial cities, soldiers converged, sworn to uphold the empire's ancient prerogatives. Together, these forces represented an overwhelming numerical superiority, a crushing weight against their Prussian adversary. Their objective, Frederick the Great's Prussian army, an audacious attempt to encircle and annihilate. With nearly 2-to-1 odds, Allied commanders felt assured of a swift and glorious triumph. Their combined might promised an irresistible momentum capable of sweeping away any resistance. Confidence bordered on arrogance. They believed Frederick's smaller army could not possibly withstand their onslaught. The enemy was deemed outnumbered and outmaneuvered, their destruction a foregone conclusion. A palpable sense of overwhelming advantage permeated the Allied camp, a confident air of impending success. Their initial movements were swift and deliberate, pushing deeper into Prussian territory with resolve. The ground trembled under their immense weight, a clear declaration of their overwhelming numerical might. Each step taken was a testament to their conviction. This campaign would end quickly and decisively. They marched towards Rossbach, eager to engage, certain of achieving a resounding, glorious victory. Across the rolling plains, a very different force awaited. Frederick's Prussians, smaller yet formidable. The King of Prussia, outnumbered nearly 2-to-1, faced monumental odds with unwavering resolve. His army, though smaller, was a marvel of discipline, honed to perfection through relentless training. Precision and coordination were their hallmarks, a fighting machine crafted for efficiency and brutal effectiveness. Each soldier, a cog in a meticulously designed military mechanism, held steadfast loyalty to their king. Frederick had chosen his ground wisely. Rossbach was not just a village, it was a strategic choke point. The Prussians were strategically positioned, ready to exploit the natural landscape to their advantage. Every hill, every dip in the terrain, became a potential weapon in Frederick's calculated defense. Days stretched into an agonizing vigil. The air grew thick with anticipation, the calm before an inevitable storm. Each night brought the Allied forces closer, the tension mounting with every passing hour. The two armies drew inexorably nearer, an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. Silence hung heavy, broken only by the whispers of the wind, carrying the distant echoes of war. Frederick meticulously planned, weighing every option, understanding the monumental stakes of the impending clash. Despite being outnumbered, there was no panic, only resolute preparation for the inevitable, brutal encounter. The small Prussian force stood defiant, ready to face the overwhelming might of the Allied coalition. Rossbach beckoned, a desolate field where courage, cunning, and discipline would soon be put to the ultimate test. Autumn 1757. The Franco-Imperial allies, confident in their numerical superiority, believed victory was within reach. Frederick, however, saw not just their strength, but the inherent flaws in their overextended formation. His mind, a crucible of strategy, began to forge a daring, almost unthinkable gambit. The Allied position, seemingly unassailable, revealed a critical vulnerability, an unguarded, elongated flank. Frederick's orders were swift and precise, a calculated move designed to exploit this strategic weakness. The initial act of deception began. Prussian baggage trains visibly withdrew, signaling an apparent retreat. Main Prussian forces then executed a seemingly orderly withdrawal, creating an illusion of genuine retreat. The Prussians moved, not in panicked flight, but in a disciplined retrograde motion, enhancing the illusion. Allied scouts, reporting back, confirmed the Prussians were indeed disengaging, falling for the ruse. The Allied command, fueled by hubris, interpreted this disciplined maneuver as a clear sign of weakness. Rising dust from the feigned withdrawal provided a natural smokescreen, perfectly concealing their true aims. Beneath the cloak of apparent retreat, Prussian artillery was subtly redeployed to key positions. Within the Allied camp, premature celebrations began. Victory seemed assured. Frederick was fleeing. Eager for glory, Allied officers prepared their troops to pursue what they perceived as a broken foe. The entire Allied force began to wheel, committing fully to the pursuit, stretching across the landscape. Impatient Allied cavalry surged forward, extending the army's long, vulnerable flank even further. The Allied infantry, believing they were encircling a fleeing enemy, initiated their perilous flank march. The terrain itself conspired against the Allies, forcing them into a strung-out, cumbersome procession. Confidence masked growing fatigue as Allied soldiers marched further, unaware of the trap closing around them. The Allied vanguard pressed relentlessly, creating a dangerous void between themselves and their supporting elements. Meanwhile, hidden from Allied view, Frederick's elite reserves lay concealed, poised for their moment. Prussian officers, their tension palpable, watched the Allied army stretch, calculating their precise moment. Concealed cavalry, the very spearhead of Frederick's coming blow, stirred restlessly, awaiting the signal. Artillery crews stood ready, their cannon muzzles perfectly aligned to unleash devastation upon the foe. Frederick, from his hidden vantage, observed the grand deception unfold exactly as he had planned. The Allied army was now fully committed, their lengthy flank march guiding them into the Prussian trap. Hidden Prussian regiments rapidly deployed, perfectly positioned to launch a crushing, unexpected counterattack. The Allied army, stretched thin and confident in pursuit, presented an irresistible, vulnerable target. Unaware of the impending catastrophe, the Allied vanguard marched forward, directly into Frederick's ambush. The moment arrived. Frederick gave the signal, and the battlefield held its breath before the storm. Suddenly, a torrent of Prussian cavalry erupted from cover, thundering towards the unsuspecting Allied flank. Simultaneously, massed Prussian artillery opened fire, tearing through the Allied ranks with devastating precision. Frederick's brilliant deception was complete. The lightning strike that echoed through Saxony had begun. The Allied forces, overconfident and disorganized, lumbered forward. They presented a vulnerable flank, a fatal oversight. But from the high ground, Frederick's keen eyes saw it all. The perfect opportunity emerged. He knew this was their moment. A single, decisive order would unleash the thunder of war. Below, the Prussian cavalry stood ready, a coiled spring. Years of drill honed them for this instant. The trumpet call sliced through the air. It was the signal. The lightning strike was imminent. Then, the earth trembled. Thousands of hooves began their relentless advance, picking up incredible speed. A vast cloud of dust rose, a telltale sign of the gathering storm. It was unstoppable force. Faster and faster, the squadrons flew across the field, a masterclass in coordinated, devastating shock tactics. Unaware, the Allied columns continued their march, their backs turned. The moment of reckoning approached swiftly. Each Prussian rider, a picture of grim focus, bore down. Their discipline was absolute, their resolve unyielding. The ground vibrated with their power, a living, thundering tidal wave, closing fast on its unsuspecting prey. With a glint of steel, sabers were unleashed. Ready for the brutal work ahead, they were instruments of fate. The very earth groaned under the weight of the charge. The sound, a symphony of impending destruction. A few Allied officers finally turned, their faces slack with disbelief. Too late, they saw the catastrophe. The roar became deafening. It was not thunder, but the sound of annihilation tearing through their peace. The Allied flank, stretched thin and unready, was a gaping wound. Frederick's cavalry exploited it ruthlessly. Panic rippled through their rear ranks. Cohesion dissolved instantly, replaced by terror before the shockwave. Then, the collision. A devastating hammer blow, shattering flesh and bone, echoing across the battlefield. Allied formations, rigid moments before, dissolved. Their lines shattered like glass under the Prussian assault. The disciplined Prussian charge carved through them like a hot knife through butter, relentlessly pushing forward. Widespread chaos erupted. The Allied army, once marching proudly, now found itself in complete, utter disarray. Retreat turned into a desperate rout. Soldiers scattered, abandoning their positions and weapons in sheer terror. Amidst the carnage, Prussian discipline shone. They reformed, ready to strike again, a testament to training. This was not mere frenzy, it was controlled destruction. Each trooper knew their role, their training ingrained. The pursuit was merciless. Frederick's cavalry ensured there would be no rally, no chance for escape. Frederick watched, his genius affirmed. This lightning strike was a testament to his military foresight. Years of grueling drills, endless hours of practice. This moment was the culmination of relentless effort. Every maneuver, every charge, rehearsed countless times. It built an army of unparalleled readiness and skill. Each trooper, a finely honed instrument of war. Their individual prowess contributed to collective devastating power. This was the perfect execution of shock tactics, a masterclass in overwhelming force, delivered with precision. The Allied lines were utterly shattered, their spirit broken. Rossbach would become a byword for their defeat. In a single audacious blow, Frederick's cavalry had turned the tide. Rossbach was a tactical triumph. His significant investment in this arm proved its worth decisively. The thunderous charge echoed through history. The Allied columns, already a disarrayed mass, struggled to find order. Confusion reigned across their vast front. Meanwhile, Prussian artillery crews, engines of disciplined destruction, swiftly repositioned their formidable guns. Every man moved with urgent precision, securing the heavy ordnance. The moment of truth approached rapidly. A deadly arc of fire was meticulously prepared. Frederick's strategy hinged on this devastating artillery barrage. Frederick the Great watched, confident in his men. The stage was set for a thunderous, decisive blow. Then, a deafening roar. The Prussian guns unleashed their fury, tearing into the unsuspecting Allied ranks. Iron hail rained down, ripping through formations. The initial volleys sowed panic, shattering Allied discipline instantly. Disorganization intensified as cannon fire relentlessly pounded the Allied masses. Their march became a desperate scramble. Officers desperately tried to rally their units, but the storm of shot was overwhelming. Command began to fracture. Reload, aim, fire. The Prussian artillery maintained an astonishing rate of destruction, relentless and unforgiving. Cavalry, once a proud vanguard, now buckled under the bombardment. Horses and riders fell in gruesome heaps. A choking pall of smoke and dust enveloped the battlefield. Visibility plummeted, amplifying the pervasive terror. Symbols of national pride toppled. Standards fell with their bearers, signaling the disintegration of formations. Through the chaos, the Prussian gunners remained resolute. Each shot precise, each impact devastatingly effective. The Allied front, once formidable, was now a fractured, bleeding mess. Artillery had done its brutal work. As the cannonade raged, Frederick's highly trained infantry moved forward. Their advance was a precise, deadly ballet. Each soldier knew his role, marching with robotic discipline. Their formation held, a testament to relentless training. An iron wall of Prussian might, perfectly aligned. They were not just soldiers, but instruments of Frederick's will. Executing complex maneuvers with breathtaking speed, they wheeled to exploit the chaos. The trap was closing. From the swirling smoke, a new terror emerged. Prussian infantry, fresh and disciplined, appeared on their flank. Despair gripped the Allied ranks. Artillery had softened them. Now infantry would deliver the killing blow. With a thunderous crack, the Prussian muskets fired. A wall of lead tore through the shattered Allied formations. What resistance remained was quickly overwhelmed. Disorganized, exhausted, and leaderless, they stood no chance. The French and Imperial forces broke. Weapons were cast aside. The retreat became a desperate, panicked rout. Relentless Prussian pressure turned disarray into a full-scale stampede. The Allied collapse was swift and brutal. Thousands upon thousands of Allied soldiers fled in terror. The once proud army was utterly shattered. Allied commanders watched in horrified disbelief. Their grand strategy had dissolved into utter, ignominious defeat. To complete the destruction, Prussian cavalry surged forward, mercilessly pursuing the broken, fleeing enemy. In a mere 90 minutes, Frederick's combined arms machine had annihilated a vastly superior force. Frederick observed his stunning triumph. Rossbach was a masterpiece of military innovation and disciplined execution. The battlefield was a testament to his genius. A small, disciplined army had humbled giants through precision. Victory was absolute, resounding across Europe. Frederick's lightning strike at Rossbach echoed through history forever. The Battle of Rossbach, a brilliant display of Prussian might, secured Frederick's place among history's greatest generals. As dawn broke over Rossbach, an eerie silence fell, the cost of victory often measured in blood. For Frederick's veterans, the morning brought order. Their discipline remained unbroken, their ranks largely intact. Incredible numbers emerged. Fewer than 500 Prussians dead or wounded. An almost unbelievable, negligible toll. Across the field, a starkly different scene unfolded. The Allied army's retreat had become a catastrophic rout. Thousands of French and Imperial soldiers lay fallen or captured. The ground bore testament to their utter collapse. Disorganized masses fled, abandoning arms, colors, and hope. A shattered army, its morale utterly broken. Rossbach's final tally for the Allies was staggering. 10,000 casualties and prisoners. An unimaginable, decisive defeat. One army suffered negligible losses, the other utter catastrophe. Rossbach etched an indelible lesson in military history. The news of Rossbach, a lightning strike, began its furious journey across the great courts of Europe. From Paris to Vienna, disbelief turned to shock. How could such a numerically superior force be so utterly crushed? In the opulent halls of Versailles, the news landed like a thunderbolt. France's military pride lay shattered. Humiliation burned deep within the French court, their formidable army disgraced by Frederick's audacious tactics. The decision was swift and stark. France would not commit troops directly against Prussia again. The cost was too high. This strategic withdrawal fundamentally altered the war. France's ambition against Prussia was abruptly curtailed. Across the Channel, in Britain, the news of Rossbach sparked a different, more optimistic reaction. British ministers, weary of continental entanglements, saw a beacon of hope in Frederick's stunning victory. Rossbach confirmed Frederick's military genius. Prussia, though small, commanded unparalleled respect and fear. With this proven prowess, British coffers opened wider. Increased financial subsidies flowed to support Prussia's war effort. The Anglo-Prussian alliance solidified, bolstered by a shared enemy and renewed British confidence in Frederick's might. The balance of power in Europe dramatically shifted. Rossbach had redefined continental military hierarchies in an instant. Rossbach wasn't merely a battle, it was a profound turning point, a declaration of Prussia's military supremacy. Frederick the Great's legend was sealed. He had masterfully defeated a force twice his size with minimal losses. The echoes of Rossbach resonated across Europe for decades, a testament to lightning strike victory and shifted destinies. Rossbach stands not merely as a battle, but as an enduring masterpiece of strategic brilliance. It cemented Frederick the Great's reputation as one of history's most audacious and innovative commanders. The lightning strike at Rossbach was a pivotal moment, reshaping the art of 18th century warfare forever. Rossbach showcased Frederick's genius in integrating cavalry, unleashing their shock effect with devastating precision. The disciplined Prussian infantry formed an unyielding core, delivering relentless fire and holding their ground. Prussian artillery, often overlooked, played a crucial role, providing precise, destructive support at key moments. This was not a chaotic clash, but a meticulously orchestrated symphony of destruction against a surprised foe. Each arm of service amplified the others, creating a synergistic power the Allied forces could not withstand. The combined arms approach at Rossbach decisively shattered the enemy's cohesion and their will to fight. Frederick's brilliance lay in using rapid movement, not just for speed, but for profound deception. His seemingly innocuous westward march masked the true intent: a devastating flank attack. The ability to rapidly reposition and strike the enemy's vulnerable flank was a hallmark of his strategy. Frederick masterfully exploited the terrain, using hills and valleys to conceal his troop movements. This swift, unexpected appearance overwhelmed the enemy, preventing any coherent defensive response. Rossbach was a psychological masterclass. Confusion sown by deception led to an immediate collapse of morale. The Allied command was caught utterly off guard, their elaborate plans rendered useless by psychological shock. Panic rapidly spread through the Allied ranks. turning a disciplined force into a desperate, disorganized rout. Frederick understood that victory often began in the mind, breaking the enemy's will before the fight. The tactical lessons learned at Rossbach were not forgotten. They became the blueprint for future campaigns. Within weeks, Frederick marched his victorious, yet exhausted army south to confront another formidable foe. The oblique order, honed at Rossbach, was refined and unleashed again with devastating effect at Leuthen. Rossbach forged the Prussian military machine, shaping its tactics and doctrine for generations of success. Rossbach's legacy is an indelible mark on military theory, a timeless testament to maneuver warfare's power. The Battle of Rossbach, 1757, a name etched in history, not merely for its bloodshed and swift conclusion. This was more than just a military victory. It was a profound demonstration of strategic superiority against overwhelming odds. Rossbach stands as a timeless testament to strategic brilliance, a masterpiece of audacious planning and execution. It highlighted the paramount importance of decisive leadership, embodied by Frederick's audacious genius and iron will, and it underscored the formidable power of a highly disciplined, well-trained force, executing complex maneuvers flawlessly. This potent combination of genius and discipline forged an unforgettable victory against seemingly insurmountable challenges. Rossbach was a pivotal turning point, reshaping the course of the 7 Years' War and European military thought. Its legacy endures, inspiring countless strategists and leaders to embrace audacity and precision in their endeavors. Frederick's triumph solidified his place among history's greatest commanders, a legend forged in the crucible of battle. Frederick's audacious triumph continues to fascinate. It reminds us of genius that echoes through military history. We invite you to engage with our channel. Share your thoughts on Frederick's brilliance in the comments below. Don't miss our next epic historical narrative. Subscribe now and join our community of history enthusiasts. Tell us, what other historical figures or battles do you believe embody such strategic genius? From a leading analysis channel, thank you for watching. Witness the legends and lessons of history unfold,